The knight is only good for camping. Well, that's what the inexperienced knight players would say, but the knight is so much stronger than just standing by a hook, brain dead. He can split pressure, keep people injured, and buy you time, and so much more. So today's bootcamp will explain how he works and why he may not be working for you. There are a few key factors to know when playing the knight. He can be excellent at splitting people up and keeping the pressure going in multiple locations, but if utilized incorrectly, you could waste literally all of your time to get nothing. So first off, let's discuss the guards being great detectives. At the beginning of a match, sending a guard to a far gen can save you a ton of time looking for survivors, instead of walking all the way out there yourself, finding nobody, and then leaving. So when you find yourself between 2 or 3 decent gens, send a guard to get a read on a situation on one of them. Additionally, if you've downed somebody, sending a guard to check nearby gens or check hook areas so that they may delay your next target by a few seconds or dissuade sabotages, things like that, it's going to allow you to keep the pressure up and keep people split, especially if where you sent the guard happens to be where you're carrying your survivor as well. This is actually something that we saw our knight player not do very often. After they would get it down, they wouldn't send out a guard to patrol any areas, and that actually resulted in a drop right here because somebody was able to just stand there and tank the hit. So be sure that you're kind of pre-planning, thinking a few steps ahead in this way. In the case of sending a guard before you pick somebody up to hook them, by the time you finally get that person on the hook, your guard is likely about to despawn or already has despawned, so you don't really lose anything in that scenario besides 2 to 3 seconds, and in some cases you can gain a lot more if you run people off of objectives, stop them from healing, or so much more. So there's a lot to be gained in being sure that you are following a bit of a cycle, downing, sending a guard, if you are within range of an objective, healing, or something of that nature, and then hooking, and then getting back into that cycle. When it comes to chasing with the guards, a fantastic rule to follow is almost to always avoid being in sync with your guards, running side by side. This moment here is a really good example. Pushing the Vittorio into the guard was a really solid call, but you rarely, if ever, want to find yourself chasing directly behind your guard like this. Your guards are used best when approaching from an angle opposite you, allowing you and the guard to pinch a survivor between you, giving them no options. Additionally, survivors will try to loop back and get the flag spawning where a survivor was detected by the guard. So by chasing directly behind your guard, you guarantee the survivor can get the flag, get their speed boost, and again, you've wasted a ton of time for nothing. So again, you don't want to invest all of this time for no net gain, so be sure that you are pinching survivors and kind of running opposite of where the guard is pushing them and trying to cut them off. And lastly here, the third principle to kind of follow a little bit more closely is to absolutely use your guards to follow up an M1 attack. This will allow you to corral your survivors immediately into some sort of corner. It'll push them away from strong tiles or loops, or give them no options once they get to those strong tiles or loops. However, there are specific times to do this, and if you just do this all of the time, you may not be getting as much value as you could. So in this example, the Hattie is running towards the center, the very center of the map. This can be a bit of a problem, and it's a bit dicey. This is going to require incredible guard placement, as the Hattie can continue to go straight, they can go left, or they can go right, and you as the killer are going to have to try to figure out where they may go, and this gives you a lot more margin for error. Now, in direct contrast, we'll see here that the Felix takes the M1 and then they run towards the edge of the map. Remember, Hattie ran to the middle, Felix is running to the edge, and as he runs to the edge, he only has 2 directions he can run instead of 3. He can go right into a corner, or he can go left and try to make as much distance as fast as possible. And that's what the Felix is going to opt to do, and that's what most survivors are going to opt to do. So as you push survivors towards the edge, you're going to have far more success getting your guards to follow up after an M1. So the big rule here, like I said, is to be sure that you're using the guard to follow up after M1s if they're headed towards an edge. You can do it if they're headed towards the middle of the map. It's very unlikely you're going to get a lot out of it. They are likely to continue to hold W. It will net you nothing in most scenarios against half-decent survivors. So use guards to follow up to keep applying pressure if they are headed towards an edge of the map. And last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about corralling people into the corner and how to most effectively do that. We see here in Shack that our knight player steps into the shack, places a guard out through the window, around through the back door. And this isn't a bad way to do it. However, being in the shack means that the survivor has every opportunity to completely leave and hold W to the opposite corner. And this isn't necessarily what you want to do. In a perfect world, you really want to stand outside of the loop, pushing the survivor into the corner. Once you set down a guard, you want to set down the guard, run it around the obstacle so that no matter where the survivor could be in this corner, they could be detected. You want to do this fairly quickly because the survivor may hold W and leave. Now, if they are holding W, when you return back to the night, this is where being outside the shack helps because you can immediately identify where they're going and then just choose to cut them off with your speed boost. In many cases, using the guards in this way will deny them the opportunity to use a strong tile, push them towards a weaker tile, and net you a down anyway. So play this from the outside. You don't need to be in the tile to lock the tile down. Really use your guards to lock it down and then enter the tile to capitalize on that once that survivor's being chased by a guard. And there you have it. There are some of the core tenets of the knight that will give you a little bit more focus and consistency with using the ability that will net you a little bit more profit more regularly. He is a very complicated killer that you could easily overuse your ability for far too long, far too often, and net nothing from it. So hopefully this helps you out. Who else do you want to see in the boot camp? Of course, come join us usually every Friday night on Twitch. And I'll be praying to the entity to see you guys in the next video.